Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, put your feet up. It's time for the Other Three Amigos Podcast with Declan McCormack, Wayne Mullins and Dan.
Three lads, one podcast.
On this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos Podcast, there's a substitution as John comes in for Wayne. There's no response from the club about the foot golf challenge. Decky reveals a bombshell. Are our centre-backs now our biggest attacking threat? Longford review, Finn Harps preview, and of course, we go to our mailbag. All this and more on this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos Podcast. Welcome along to Toe Tap Season 4, Episode 121, Episode 197 in total, your award-winning podcast. A reminder, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Toe Tap, where you can join us for a $5 or a $10 if you want to help us out a little bit more, but still get the same amount of shit. Be sure to retweet the pod, as it's so important to help us grow. Even likes help, of course, with the proud sponsor of Jack Doherty's Boots. We're still at £100 for Marymount at the moment. I will introduce, well, we have a bit of a substitution here tonight. John O'Sullivan replaces Wayne Mullins. John, how are we? You recorded last night. You're recording again tonight. The dedication to Toe Tap is unmatched.
Yeah, it's nice to be asked back after predicting a 1-1 draw away to Finn Harps the last time I was on and driving Wayne mad. So, yeah, glad to get the pass.
But yet he's now the one. He's now the one predicting the draws.
Yeah, oh, sure, we were right all along.
Dickie, how are you feeling?
Dan, good. I spent possibly 30 seconds waving at you there in the camera, and you were obviously weren't looking up. You were looking down, or
I was on. I had to say I was looking
but
at
it
that,
is,
yeah.
It's actually episode 199, not 197. Just, I'm sure there's some toe tappers out there now roaring at their device, going, "You're wrong, Dan. You're wrong." So we'll clear it up for them now.
Our last
episode 199.
Our last episode on Spotify is 196. Van Gogh in the bathroom. Before that was 195, Captain America. Before that was episode 194, Between John and Death. So
I just cut that piece out. I just cut that last bit out, so we'll work on. Yeah, I'm great, Dan. Thanks for asking. How are you yourself?
buzzing. How did you get on in Last Amos? That was released earlier today.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, the same crack as always, Dan. You know, chatting about games and too many substitutions in games, surveys about facilities, shin pads, copybooks for shin pads. There's lots in there.
Offend anyone this week?
No, I don't think so. To be fair, I put the reins on John this week, and I didn't allow him to upset anybody. So.
Finally, Jesus, about time someone did. Christ. Look, a bit of academy watch here. Under-20s beat CK United 4-0. Drynan O'Shea Skeeters by 2. Under-17s beat the Finger Lickers 3-1. O'Donovan, Hanover and Hurley with the goals. Under-15s beat CK 2-1. And our under-14s beat CK United 2-0. Clean sweep across the board there for our academy. We now go to Commie Watch.
Commie Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos Podcast.
Did we receive any reply, Decky, to our throwdown to our, I don't know, duel against the club for the foot golf event in Kinsale?
No reply. But look, yeah, I never expected one, to be honest. But officially, there's been no reply. The deadline has passed. There's been, I think we can take it officially that there has been no acceptance of the challenge that was issued and laid down. So, I mean, all that just results, Dan, in this.
Now this is chicken talk. This is what they say when the chickens they do laugh.
Dan, before
I mean, no one's going to start
before
now.
We go any
you're
further.
Too dignified.
Yeah, before we go any further, Dan, how many times do you think I'm going to have to hit play on that thing between now and say the middle of July?
Middle of July. That's 2 months away, is it?
It would be, yeah.
Am I right?
Easily.
3 months.
3 months away.
So you're looking at 12, 13, I'd say.
I thought to be a lot more, to be honest with you. That's okay.
Actually, no, because you'd have to hit it
look,
twice every time, so it would be 26. Double it.
Yeah.
Look, obviously, we won't go into the full segment of Chicken Talk. Or will we? Without Wayne.
That's kind of Wayne's thing, isn't it? To be fair,
Yeah,
no disrespect to John, like, but I don't think he pulls off the whole chicken thing as well as Wayne does, you know.
No, that's purely in Wayne's wheelhouse. I'll leave that one pass.
John, could you give us your best bark? That was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was a good 8.5 out of 10, in my opinion. Dickie, can you give us your best bark?
Ah, come on! Like, is this really what?
If you're going to leave me hanging now.
I don't know. What the fuck? I can't hear that myself now, so I have no idea how that sounded, but it sounded terrible, I think. Anyway, go on. Here we are.
There was a John Fallon article released during the week. The cost of repair to Turner's Cross would be a whopping $9,000, and they've written to all their leagues, looking for basically that they would be the arbiters of Turner's Cross. Dickie, do you have any update for us on the state of the pitch in Turner's Cross? What do you know?
Well, the state of the pitch, actually, there was pictures online today from Dan Horgan, who has that brilliant Twitter account with his son David. They go to all the Cork City events. Fantastic. Big Ballincollig basketball fans and that as well. And Dan was at the Monday morning gathering in Turner's Cross this morning, and he put up some photos where the pitch was covered, but then he had one from down near the goal mouth where the cover had been rolled back or removed, and you can see that they've attempted to repair that area there in front of the goal at the shed end, where around the penalty spot where that was all just earth. They've just grass on that now. It looks like they've brought in grass and tried to embed, imported grass or whatever, tried to embed that into the existing surface. And obviously, as the weather dries out and things like that, the surface looked decent enough, but it's very hard to tell, obviously, and what would happen again if there was a lash of rain and things like that. But look, there's obviously been work done on it. John Fallon has said $9,000. I believe that's pretty accurate. I believe also that the MFA have asked Cork City to pay for the repairs, or looked for Cork City to pay for the repairs. I think it's undoubtedly what has happened. Different people have given me different figures. I've been told that the MFA have asked Cork City, or maybe asked, I don't know, looked for a sum of $4,000 from Cork City. Then somebody else said $6,000. Then somebody else said $8,000. But I think I've established enough that they have looked for Cork City to pay or to contribute for the repair to the pitch. Cork City have said no. Towards the end of last week, that was definitely Cork City's position, that they weren't. They're only a tenant, and it's not their responsibility to bear the cost of the repairs to the pitch. The MFA seem to be playing a game of poker here, and I think they're overvaluing their hand a bit. They seem to maybe have a one pair hand that they believe is a full house, or they're playing it like they have a full house. And the problem for them is, reading between the lines, it kind of seems like they think they have Cork City over a barrel, and that there is nothing Cork City have to go back into Turner's Cross, which is largely true. There's a 20-year lease, but I presume that any decent legal representative could get Cork City out of that lease now once the ground has been closed and things like that. But I'm not sure the MFA are aware that there have been some talks between Cork City and other bodies about the use of Flower Lodge. And
wow.
Obviously Munster Rugby are also willing to do something with Musgrave Park. They told Dylan O'Connell that. We're only 2 weeks today is the Wexford game, on the bank holiday Monday. The Saturday prior to that would be the Treaty game on TG Cahir, the women's game against Treaty. So there isn't a huge amount of time left here either to get things sorted. And as I said, the MFA might believe they're holding a full house, but I don't think their holding is maybe as strong as they believe it to be. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, everybody's preferred option is that Cork City end up, go back into Turner's Cross for the Maybank holiday weekend. That's what has always been the goal, always been what's worked towards. But if the MFA, and again, their letter to their leagues and things like this was explicit in blaming Cork City for the damage to the pitch and one league game, when we all know that's not the case. And there's no acknowledgement of the fact that this has been going on for the bones of a year now. That when the first game of the season against Kerry, the pitch caught up within 10 minutes of that game. Cork City hadn't been near the pitch for 3 months prior to that. So I think there's lots of people, I would imagine, very unhappy with the MFA. The FAI are clearly very unhappy with the MFA and how the MFA are conducting themselves. My understanding is the FAI told them not to allow Cove into Turner's Cross because of the damage it would cause to the pitch. The MFA wanted the money and, they took on the Cove games. I'm not in any way blaming Cove. Cove had every right to request to be left in there. But, the MFA really kind of want their cake and eat it seems. And as I said, I'm not sure their holding as strong as they actually believe it to be.
John, what are your opinions on it? Say if the MFA go back home to Flower Lodge.
That's a surprise to me as much as it's to listeners, I'd say. I think that would be fantastic. But I suppose, look, one thing that's kind of sneaking out is kind of that this old John Delaney tactic of kind of local football versus League of Ireland football. And this is just my personal opinion, from what I'm hearing myself, is that like some of the commentary as well that I've seen online are suggesting City are looking for some kind of exclusive access to the Cross, and which of course that's nonsense. Like the idea that any Cork City fan who's would say have kids that might be playing with a local club wants the Cross to be closed for the like 330 odd days that we are not using it is daft. And look, even just from a purely personal level, we got knocked out. I coached local soccer here, and we got knocked out of the Under-12 National Cup a couple of years ago by a very good Carrigaline United side who went on to win the Under-12 National Cup in Turner's Cross, beating Peamount United. And there's no one wants, would say, kids or adults not to be playing their cup finals in Turner's Cross. But it's that kind of little narrative that's sneaking in as well. I think part of it's come from the MFA approach of definitely pointing the blame at Turner's Cross, which to Decky's point there is ridiculous, really. The pitch is, again, my opinion, the pitch has been terrible for a year. Almost as soon as we signed a 20-year lease, it looked like the standard dropped. And we've seen it last year with the women's games as well, getting moved when the pitch was, in what the MFA called poor condition. But yeah, look, I Flower Lodge would be very, very interesting to pull the rabbit, or a very interesting rabbit to pull out of the hat.
Yeah, I probably didn't give it the credence that bombshell deserved. Dickie, I know you wouldn't say it if it wasn't, if you didn't fully believe it anyway, but are we confident the source is very much in the know that you got it 100%?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy, and the source was also happy for me to say it. So, no. Maybe it's a deliberate tactic to let the MFI know that there is other options out there, and that's fine. I don't mind, and I genuinely don't mind being that conduit if that's what's happening, I have no problem. But you got to remember as well, Dan, you're a GA head. Like, Cork County boards need cash as well, so if they can rent Flower Lodge to Cork City for one game or the rest of the league season, whatever. Now, I have no insight into how far these talks went, what you're looking at, what kind of arrangement. It's just there have been contacts made regarding Flower Lodge. As I said, everybody's desire is still to see Cork City back in Turner's Cross, but the MFA have a tenant. And they kind of want us to pay the rent, and they want to also have the right to be the arbiters of when a game is played and when it's not played. And that's just not, even within the rules of that's not, the referee decides if a pitch is unplayable. The MFA don't decide if a pitch is unplayable, and they're asking their leagues to back this position. That's fine. Back the position, take the position. Cork City may have options, and You know, the fact of the matter remains, Dan, the biggest contributor to the coffers of the MFA are Cork City through their rent of Turner's Cross.
And they do it up the whole time.
Yeah, and if the MFA lose that income, they're in trouble. Allegedly, they're in trouble because allegedly they're struggling to pay the cost of the repairs to the pitch. Hence why they're trying to slap Cork City with a bill for it as well. You know, so look, there's an awful lot of messing, and I don't think there needs to be any of this kind of. I don't want to say it's underhand because it's not underhand, but it's just, as John said, it's just setting again the traditional amateur football against League of Ireland football in this country, and there's absolutely no need for it. Everybody can sit down, get on together, but it appears as if the MFA want their cake and eat it, and there is a danger, as I said, that they're overplaying their poker hand, and when you overplay a hand, if your bluff gets called, inevitably, metaphorically and realistically, you just end up broke. And like,
John,
that's what the MFA have to consider as well.
You were looking to come in there, John.
It's just kind of when Decky kind of mentioned the contribution that City have made to development and the advancement of the cross. I do think something that I always kind of believed and I look at is, if you look at Jackman Park in Limerick, which is one of the worst grounds in the country that ever hosted League of Ireland football, that's what Turner's Cross could have been if it wasn't for an anchor tenant who's a professional club playing the League of Ireland, because that's the partner you have to put in seats in the St. Anne's End, like Brian Lennox paid for back in the day, if we're to believe that. But it's also the anchor tenants that you say they're giving us X number of euros or X thousand euros every year, so we can draw down a loan or we can apply for grant funding off the back of that. So yeah, I would worry about what Turner's Cross would look like in 10 years' time as well if Cork City weren't actually playing in there.
Dickie, I know that the preferred option is, of course, Turner's Cross, but would you also be in favour of maybe saying stuff them, let the MFA see how they get on without Cork City for even if it is a month or two?
I've no problem with it. Like, I've no emotional attachment to Turner's Cross, to be honest with you. I know it's been our home, and it's been our home since I've started going there, but we don't own it. You know, it doesn't have that thing. I've never seen a game of association football in Flower Lodge. You know, I'd love to see that. I'd love, to.
That'd be some novelty.
And I know it's, Parky Ring and the rest of it, but like, as I said, I've never seen a game of football there, but I still call it Flower Lodge. Never in my life have I called it Parky Ring, And as I said, so yeah, there's just a part of me would love to see something like that happen, and I'd love to see the club make a statement. And look, it's I feel sorry for Dermot Usher, I'll be honest with you, and I know probably we don't see eye to eye in a lot of things, but I do feel sorry for him, because this shit is not something that he ever really would have thought he'd have to deal with. I mean, he bought a club who had a 20-year lease as a primary tenant on probably the best facility available to them, and how could he ever have foreseen that the weather would have went the way it went, the poor upkeep of the pitch would have been responsible for the stadium getting closed down, and now he has to deal with all this nonsense from the MFA as well. I mean, as I said, I don't bear Dermot any ill will on a personal level, and I genuinely feel sorry for him here, because none of this scenario is any of his doing, and yet it's more nonsense and bullshit that he's forced to deal with probably on a daily basis, if not an hourly basis at this stage.
Besides getting balked at.
Yeah, obviously, besides getting balked at, But look, we all have our crosses to bear,
Is this teeing up for maybe Turner's Cross to be redeveloped into a 4G pitch at some stage? John, I'll go to you first.
I think it's inevitable that more clubs and more surfaces will go 4G. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy Europe-wide at the moment about the plastic crumb that's used to surface 4G pitches and maintain them. And like the Dutch are ripping up all their 4G pitches, 3G pitches at the moment because of the crumb is meant to be carcinogenic. And I do think that's going to have an impact here in the next couple of years. I don't think it's really hit the severity, the potential severity of that domestically for any code that's using artificial surfaces. But I do think in the longer term, inevitably, we're going to see more and more 4G pitches used. I mean, as it is in the last couple of years, Cove, Athlone and Derry are gone, artificial surfaces for after decades of everyone complaining about Oriel Park. I think it's only going one way in the long run. Wouldn't be in favour of it myself, but in terms of upkeep and the ability to put on matches, it certainly would make sense for a simple place like Turner's Cross, which is in use effectively year round.
Yeah, I'd agree. You wouldn't want to see it, but Decky, it's looking like something that's probably going to happen sooner rather than later, maybe at this stage.
Yeah, look, with the amount of games that are played in the Cross and everything else, it does seem inevitable. You see what Cove have done, and already you see the use that their pitch is getting. Local schoolboys teams are training on it. Obviously, all Cove's own teams are training on it. You can see some of the primary school finals have been moved to Musgrave Park out of Turner's Cross. As I said last week, Alan Bennett is looking after that stuff. And so, yeah, there is a feel of inevitability about it. But, as you're right, Jack, you'd hate to see it. You could see from Cove there on Friday night, and you can see the pellets bouncing up. Now I know that pitch still needs to bed in properly and settle in, but you can see the black pellets bouncing as contact is made with the ball, and it's just us purist traditionalists will never really fully buy into it.
We struggle enough with injuries as well. Don't mind putting us on a 4G pitch,
There's certainly that element to it as well. Yeah.
Moving on, we have bucket hats, lads. Bucket hats, Cork City bucket hats. Decky, did you ever think you'd see the day?
I genuinely thought the only time I'd see a Cork City bucket hat would be when Wayne would be after buying 250 of them from China with some mad design on them, and he's trying to flog them online for a tenner a pop, But look, it's coming into the summer. The bucket hats are popular in the summer, so que sera, really.
John, you haven't got a glimpse of these bad boys yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
I say bad boys. They're a bit plain, but they are still nice. I'll say we'll get one at some stage.
Yeah, I'll revisit my indie scene of the early 1990s. I'm going around with my bucket hat. I'm all for them, actually. Love a bucket hat.
At your age.
Hey.
I know, yeah. When you get to my age, you see them hang thing off them.
Were we in the Marina Market at the weekend? Does anybody know? Is that it for the Marina Market?
It looks dead and buried, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're away again. We're away again next weekend. So no, I think it looks dead and buried. So if the fans want to claim victory, I think they can do so.
Decky gives his blessing. Longford 1, City 4. Who needs a number 9 when you got Coleman and Lyons? I mean, it's sad now that our centre backs are possibly our biggest attacking threat. Decky, go to you first.
I think that's a very Decky thing to say, to be honest, which I know that I hear you saying it, and it's probably a bit harsh, to be honest. I mean, we scored from 4 set pieces, but I did check. I emailed the FAI, I emailed the UEFA, and I emailed FIFA, and they all came back and said set piece goals are legitimate goals and are counted as such. So we can't complain about it. Look, I mean, it's unusual, actually. I don't know. I can't think that if I've ever seen 4 set piece goals from the same team in the same game, but we're an attacking threat. We probably didn't score enough of them last season. So I think this is this Charlie Lyons. Charlie Lyons now has 3 for the season. Cian has 2, I think, which obviously were the 2 the other night. But look, I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting set piece goals, and the numbers from the game were quite good. Obviously, going behind. I mean, I was thinking of it today, Dan. You asked me last week, will Longford even score? And I was like, nah, they won't. And within 90 seconds, they were 1-0 up. And I was like, this is karma coming back to bite me in the ass again, because Remember the night of the Patreon that I made the silly joke about my plumber's name? I was going through the WhatsApp list and I was like, oh
It's
yeah,
the last Patreon.
that's my plumber. Yeah, no, the one before it. And that was that was recorded. People who listen to the Patreon will know what I'm talking about anyway. That was recorded on the Friday night, and I made a really stupid joke about my plumber's name. And I was woken the following Sunday morning, 36 hours or so later, by my daughter standing at the side of my bed going, "Daddy, there's water coming through the ceiling." You know,
Karma.
and I get up and the water tanks after busted in the attic. So I need the plumber then pretty quickly at 10 o'clock, 8:30 on Sunday morning. He got here for about 10 o'clock. So I'm very big on karma coming back to bite me at the moment, Dan. So when Longford scored, I was just like, oh yeah, here's more karma for me now, you know.
On their goal, what do you think it was? Bit shit, wasn't it?
It was just poor. I mean, when the video session is done, there is no way in hell Evan McLaughlin is getting out of there without being ripped to shreds. You know, he turned his back, came out, you know, where you want your defender to stand big and stand wide and stand tall, and he turned his back because he thought your man was going to shoot, and he makes himself really narrow and really thin. Your man just skips past him and knocks it across, and Adiemo knocks it in, having split the two centre backs. But I don't think there's anything the two lads can do about that, to be honest with you. You know, McLaughlin, I'm pretty sure McLaughlin will get torn apart in a fun way by the lads for it, but I'm sure Tim Clancy will have pulled him and had a serious word. But to be fair, I think Evan McLaughlin is turning into a really, really good player. So I'm gonna forgive him that one error, and you know, it's fine making errors this year. I think it's almost like get them out of your system this year before the serious stuff starts next year. But we're 7 points clear. It's mad to say it, like 11 games in, the league is over. It's nearly officially over. Like we're, you know, it's so we have a lot of time now to try a lot of things, do a lot of things, improve players, improve systems and all that. And I think Evan McLaughlin has the potential to turn into a really, really good player for us this year and next year, hopefully.
John, were you worried at all when that goal went in?
Briefly. But look, Decky touched it there with the set piece goals. I think last year it was an issue for us, like when we were attacking. Like I don't know how many corners we got in the game, but we were constantly on the front foot, constantly attacking, winning corners. And when you have that kind of threat that Charlie and Keane carry from set pieces, suddenly you don't have to get the goals from play. You know, you don't have to be breaking down a defense that sits deep, and it gives you another option. Like the way we play, the way we attack, we're always going to win corners. Keepers are always going to be making saves, pushing balls around the post and stuff like that. So, two fellas that can get in around the box from corners and other set pieces, like the two centre halves do. Look, it's all good. I thought, look, the goal came so early and so poorly, I guess, in a sense that you're writing it off straight away. And I think in the end 4-1 is a really fair reflection. But I'll show you now how much of a nerd I am in that we don't have a number 9, but if you add Charlie Lyons and Keane Coleman's jersey numbers together, that's number 9 there for you.
John, I never would have thought about that. It's cryptic. It's like Dickie's 4-2, the 4-2 that very nearly happened.
I thought the 4-2 was going to get there. Just so John knows, we had 9 corners, John, on Saturday night.
9. Okay.
10 free kicks.
Yeah. So having that threat is massive. Like,
did you enjoy your experience of the Longford stream, John? More enjoyable than the UCD one, or less enjoyable?
It was all right. I thought it was a bit jumpy, shall we say? But look, on the whole, the commentary was okay. The co-commentary was a bit biased, maybe, shall we say, against us. But I kind of like that in like a League of Ireland coverage and LITV coverage, that you don't want it to be too neutral. You don't want it to be, too down the line. I like when it, the co-commentators are clearly on the home team's side. It doesn't bother me at all. Makes the wins all that sweeter, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think Decky's actually said that a few times before, in fairness. You wouldn't expect it out of Shamrock Rovers, no, to be fair, but the likes of UCD and Longford, like, you certainly would. Decky, did you enjoy your viewing experience of the game?
Look, it was fine. I mean, I thought the stream was bit jumpy, I don't know what the word is, and there was, I don't know, there
or
was
something like a frame rate off.
And it was then there was I don't know, was it moths, or there seemed to be something floating across the screen at all times, like, you know. But look, it's fine. It's our own fault. We're in the first division. I keep saying it. These are the things we have to put up with for the year. It's just, you know, glad to know that we will be out of it at the end of this season, and we'll be back to hopefully proper streams, as you say, from Tala and Con Murphy and the lads, giving us all the credit in the world as the professional outfit that they are, and ensuring that there is no bias in their commentary in any way, shape or form.
I think Damien on the whole mat thing, he was like, he put up on Twitter, it was like, are the ashes of a local bonfire falling on Bishopsgate? Is it Silent Hill or something? Which I thought was good. Your Totap MVP, who do I have here? Charlie Lyons won with 55% of the vote. Big win for him. Cian Coleman in second with 30%. Greg Bolger with 8%. And Cian Bergery with 4%. Actually, I should have gone into the comments. Oh, he's changed his name again. Gareth, formerly known as Doggerberry. Can't vote because I was busy doing other stuff, so I wasn't able to watch it. Decky, any idea what he was up to?
I'd say no, Dan. You're an educated man yourself. You can have a guess at what it is he's talking about. You don't need to check with me anyway, I'd say.
No idea. What you know, John?
Don't drag me into this, lads. I'm only here for one episode, filling in for Wayne.
Right. Instead of a 2-word answer, we enjoyed the movie one so much, we decided to go for it again. 7 points, clear at the top. Give us your reaction to that performance using song titles only. Boring Cian Coleman says head games. Kevin Cronin said the only way is up. Patrick Byrne says we are the champions. It's the only one I know so far. Duncan Noonan says, am I dreaming? Shirts on the Wall says, easy. Sean O'Mahony, everybody hurts. REM. David Crowley, invincible. Wayne, just below the lads warming their hands in a gif. Billy Dorney says, not pleasing to watch, but sure we'll take it. I think that was...
was that by the Beatles?
I think so. I think... Maybe back in the yellow submarine days, they were a bit off their tates. He came back and said, we didn't start the fire, by Billy Joel. Pat Connolly says, step up the morphine. Connor says, Funky Town. Anthony O'Sullivan says, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Oh, yes, what a shout. Laro Tuma, The Sound of Silence, which was aptly played over the speakers at full time. The dedication Lar shows to this club is unmatched.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, everything that's one.
The football's been so boring, we just haven't heard that one in a while, even if we have been winning games. Philly Crowley says, for one night only, Simple Minds. Jamie Foley says, we'll be coming back. Sean says, Journey, don't stop believing. Gareth, formerly known as Doggerberry, says, dogging. There's a song out there called Dogging. Could be a new segment. Joe Langford says, nothing's going to stop us now. Betting Bros NC says, don't stop till you get enough. Michael Jackson. Darren OC says, wicked game. Ashleen O'Connell says, we will rock you, or to win just once. Topper says, the Death and Resurrection Show. Edwin Hannon says, Paradise, what a tune. SBG says, The Road to Hell. John Fitzpatrick says, Nothing Else Matters. Metallica. Dave Hannon says, what goes up must come down. Ooh, ominous. Ian Crowley says, everybody, Backstreet's back. Colin says, fundamentally funky. Dickie, were you fundamentally funky?
It seems like a loaded question. No, I'm not funky in any way, shape or form. I can't dance, don't dance, none of that stuff. So no, definitely not funky.
Liam Roach says, Champion by Kanye West. Anthony Falvey says, The Defenders. Dara Hogan says, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Dylan says, Hell on Earth. And Beer-Bellied Hoofer says, Pet Shop Boys. Being boring. What's your favourite song out of those, John?
I think I'll go with The Only Way Is Up, which is a 80s classic by Yads. So, twice as old as you are, Dan.
I have no idea. Dickie, Decky, what was your shout?
Yeah, John robbed it. I was thinking of Yaz as well in her multicolored jacket and her shaved, dyed blonde hair. Cracking tune, and the name is very apt as well because, as I said, we're only 11 games in, but start planning for next year already.
Right, well, that concludes the first half. Toe Tapper, come back to us in the second half, where we will have our Finn Harps preview, Pinnacle Patrol, and of course, we go to our mailbag.
This podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, so listen up to the ad and hear what it's all about and get our offer for you. So, what is a VPN? Here's the nerd porn. A VPN connection establishes a secure connection between you and the internet. Via the VPN, all your data traffic is routed through an encrypted virtual tunnel. This disguises your IP address when you use the internet, making its location invisible to everyone. Now, the geeks have just blown their load. Here's for the normal person. So basically, you can browse the net safely. Is that all I hear you ask? Absolutely not. If you think the government is watching you, then fear no more tinfoil hat man. They can't. With NordVPN, what else? Every wanted to watch BBC Player, or something that's not available in your location. With NordVPN, you can watch all the stuff that you want in any location. Netflix across the world is available, so you can access the latest episode of that Mexican soap opera that you've always wanted save money. Other countries can get stuff way cheaper, so jussy pop yourself in a different location and watch the bank balance, thank you. And of course, enjoy you time, you dirty man. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/totap to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
As you've just heard, NordVPN are back sponsoring Toe Tap here. Decky, I mean, great stuff. I mean, an international company like NordVPN finally giving us the recognition we deserve, really.
Yeah, look, I mean, they've been begging us for the last 2 months to take them back on again, to be honest with you, and look, we kind of did it as a favour to him, really, more so than anything else. I wish that was true. Yeah, look, fantastic brand, fantastic to have them back on board, and they will be with us for the next 3 weeks to a month, and we'll see what happens then.
We'll see what the story is. It'll be big, and again, we don't have a You Say It Best, but I do want you to play the tune. Just play the tune first, anyway.
You say it best when you leave a voice note.
I do smile every time I think about that. We did have a You Say It Best that came in, Decky, but it maybe was a bit on the side. We just couldn't play it out.
Look, I mean, the first thing I guess is that 10 o'clock on a Saturday night isn't the best time for WhatsApp messages, going by the fact that we only received one this week. And as I said, look, there's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, it's just they were going dogging and they were bringing somebody with them, and it's just not. It's not fair.
You were jealous. You weren't invited.
Yeah, that was it. So we just kind of encourage people maybe to leave personal references maybe off the WhatsApps, because we're not overly comfortable playing those. Then, having said that, we did play some obvious satirical takeoffs of Damien Delaney, but satire is satire. This one is just,
It's the best thing about the podcast, though, I must say. I mean, the Toe Tappers are just far funnier than any of us.
Without fail.
Just a reminder, the number you can WhatsApp us on is 089 452 7762. Right? It is the best thing about the pod. So please send us in your WhatsApps. It's probably at a bit of a better time this Friday, which kind of leads me into our next segment, I guess. Harps away. It's on at 6 o'clock. There's going to be absolutely nobody at this game. Just coming out of work up in Ballybuffet from wherever
They had
the farm or something.
1,000. Yeah, they had it. Was it 1,100 at the last game that kicked off there at 6 o'clock? That was the UCD game, wasn't it? Finished 1-1. Yeah, I think they had 1,100 that day, which was actually their biggest crowd of the season. And then this kind of thing kicked off online as well, where people were buying tickets to support them and trying, fundraise for their stadium and the issue that they were having with the lights and that. So it's hard to know, Dan. I have a feeling you'll probably be right. First time was a novelty. Second time round, probably less enthusiastic. Maybe people might be, but we'll see what happens. Like 6 o'clock, it's an awful time. Even for us, fellas are just finishing work, you kids are still up, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how many people actually get to put their eyes on the game.
I mean, we don't have another rival, but they are, them and UCD are our rivals in the division at the moment. City surely be getting the win here. I mean, we thought that, or maybe not thought that the first time with predicting all the draws, but City have to be getting the win here, Dickie, really, don't they?
Yeah, I think yes, I'd fully expect them to win. I mean, Finn Harps haven't won in 3 now. They seem to have gone off the boil a little bit. They were absolutely useless in Cove last Friday night. I mean, I don't like using the word disgraceful, and I won't use it, but Harps were borderline hitting that level. Like, they just were not at it at all, and I don't know why that was. As I said, they've gone to Athlone, they lost in Athlone, they went to Cove, they've lost in Cove. There's absolutely no reason why we don't win this game, in my opinion. Obviously, Jack Doherty missed out against Longford. No idea what the situation is. Obviously, he was injured because he wasn't on the bench either. And again, karma, I predict that Tim Clancy might drop him for tactical reasons in one of the next 2 games. And bang, he misses the Longford game, obviously through injury, So, yeah, karma's coming after Decky a little bit the last couple of weeks. But no, I look, every game this year from here on in, I'm going to say this is a game we win. This is a game we should win.
We're going to predict 4-2 anyway.
Yeah. No, I'll go 3-0 this time, I think.
John, 3 points in the bag.
Yeah, I think like Decky said, they've lost their last 2, while they'll be looking to bounce back a little bit from that. I think we're probably... the goal we gave away in Finn Harps the last time we were up there, I don't think we give that goal away again. It was a bit of an anomaly given how strong we've been defensively this season. I don't really see Finn Harps taking anything from us in this game, even though I would have been very conservative the first time around when we played them. Yeah, look, the fact of the matter is, like, I think we can start wrapping up the league pretty quickly.
It's over. It's dead. Because
the thing is, everybody's taking points off everybody else. Like, even UCD and Finn Harps between them in second and third, they've already lost 3 games each out of 11, and we haven't beaten either of those teams. So they're dropping those points to other teams in the table. So everyone can beat everybody. Like, you look at Kerry, 6 draws and they're second bottom. They're pulling points off everybody. We just have to keep tipping away, and we should. I know it sounds very cocky, but we should be walking away with this league and have it done and dusted by August. Like,
who are you starting, John? Are you going with same team as last time? Well, depending on Doherty, I suppose, to be fair.
Yeah, I think overall the way we played up in Longford was quite good. I suppose, look, the one thing that Tim Clancy probably has to bear in mind as well, and it is a factor, is we've been away game after away game after away game now, and Harps is a long trip on Friday. Is there fatigue? Is there anybody that might need a break that he's looking at? But no, I think bar Jack, I don't see that you'd be changing the starting lineup much from what started in Longford. I think they did well. They played well. Put Longford under pressure. Do the same up in Harps. I think we come away with the win.
Dickie, do you think fatigue is just not a good enough excuse for the only professional footballing outfit in the division, if that is the case?
Yeah, look, travelling is hard. I understand that. I'm going to presume that we go on Thursday and we stay overnight. That's just me, as I said, presuming. But I would expect that's what's happening. As I said, I just expect us to win. I think from the last night we played them, I think we're better than we were the last night. And there are serious question marks over whether they are any better than what they were on that occasion. As I said, they were absolutely awful in Cove last Friday night. And if they show up with that kind of a performance again, we'll walk all over them, but I don't think they will, because I think it comes back. There's an element again of what we've spoken about a lot. This is their cup final. This is another. The big club is in town again, and they're going to raise their game. And you were asking about the team. I think for that reason, I'd probably take Jaden out and start Bagsy. I think Finn Harps are a bit more physical. That was a young Longford team last Saturday night. They were missing six. I think it was six. I counted maybe 7 players who would be first team starters. Longford were, and they were replaced by kids and inexperienced players. And I think it was the perfect game to give Jaden a start. I think Finn Harps are a bit more battle hardy and a bit more physical in that, and I think he might be better served coming off the bench with 20 minutes to go, as Wayne has said often. If you're the full back and say you've had Bagsy running at you for 70 minutes and you look and you see Bagsy's number go up and you think, Jesus Christ, thanks be to God, he's gone off, and here comes Jaden Newman on to replace him, you're just going to go, for fuck's sake, like, what have I done to deserve this? Because this kid's, or even if it's Josh Fitzpatrick, like, I would consider giving Josh a start as well, but he might be one of these players who makes a real impact coming off the bench. But he is just so direct. I mean, Josh is just head down, get to the byline and get the ball in the box. I mean, he is Wayne Mullins' absolute ideal player, like, without fail. But he's very, very direct, and if when he's running at full backs, I think he's knocking on the door and asking for a start, because every time he's come on, he makes an impression, and I think at some stage Tim is probably going to have to reward him with a start. Whether that is next week or not remains to be seen.
Should we be worried about success? I mean, the score, the last goal. Is he Finn Harps' only threat, really?
Yes, fundamentally he is, and we've seen that. And when he doesn't fire, they're not doing anything. We should have mentioned as well. Sorry, that Cian Murphy came off last Saturday night after 28 minutes or so. So again, that's injury. It must be injury related. I thought it actually kind of worked quite well again when Nathan Wood went into the 9. And I know I said the last time, what game was it, that he did start up front, and I said he's clearly not a number 9, but he did get himself in positions the other night. It's just that his finishing was somewhat poor. He hit the bar with a very good chance, he hit the post, I should say, not the bar. But I wouldn't mind seeing Nathan Wood step into that 9 again, and I'd love to get back to that first match of the season where you had Wood and Doherty off him, and give that 3 or 4 games maybe and see if there is something there that can be made to work. But I think we'll see some changes. I'm going to presume that Cian Murphy's out. I'm going to presume that Jack will be available. And I'm going to presume that Jaden doesn't start. And I think, like, I praised Barry Coffey an awful lot last week and said I didn't think Tim would leave him out. And he had a poor first half and he was taken off at half time. And Cahill came in. So I think there's a chance that Cahill starts instead of Barry Coffey and Bagsy starts instead of Jaden. Wood starts up top for Cian Murphy, and maybe then, depending on Jack's fitness, he might come back in, or maybe Josh Fitzpatrick would come in or something like that as well,
Not to pick him out every week, and it's not going to be something we'll be getting in the habit of, but Wood has to put away that opportunity. I can't remember what minute it was now, but the goal was a bit at his mercy, it felt like, anyway. John?
Yeah. No, he does. And I suppose it's one of those, like, he did an interview with the Rebel Army pod right at the start of the season, and, he was talking about, maybe looking at 8 goals and 8 assists or something like that as his target up to when his loan period was up. I know he hasn't featured in as many games as he might have liked, but I think even from himself and the way he, spoke at that time, he'll he'll be very disappointed that he didn't take that chance, because I still think I actually do like him in the 9. I think that first game showed us a glimpse of what. I like him in the 9 in the context of who we have available to us to play in that position, especially now that Keane is out. And I do think there's a player there. He's got very good left foot. But yeah, the longer it goes without a goal, probably the more that gets in the head, like especially when it's a chance like that.
Is it just confidence, Decky, do you reckon?
I was just going to say, I think it would have been a massive moment for him if that ball sneaks in, so even hits the inside of the post and goes in, because the confidence then would have flowed. I thought he played relatively well on Saturday night. As I said, I thought when he went into the 9, he did well, relatively well, and I just if Keane is going to be out again for a few games, I just play Wood there and give him the run of games and allow him maybe to build that bit of confidence. And as I said, if you can get Jack playing off him, or even if it comes down to being Murray playing off him or whoever it might be, just allow them to have those couple of games, 3 or 4 games, and maybe try and build some sort of a partnership.
Perfect stuff. Are you sticking with your 3-0 prediction, or are you going to go with the 4-2?
No, I'm going to drop the 4-2 stuff now, because it's been rumbled. So I'm confident going up there. I think we're in a good position. I think mentally, obviously, we're in a great spot. I think Tim has them well coached. He knows exactly what he wants out of them. Okay, look, we give out at times that it's not as fluent offensively as we would like, but it is what it is. So let's stay positive. And I think if we can score early, because we just don't concede. I know we conceded in Longford, but like as a general rule, we don't concede. And I think if we can get one early, like most games this season, and teams have to come out and step out and try and play us, I do think that we could get 2-3 comfortably up there.
I'm saying 2-0, John.
Hell, I'll go 4-0 just to be different from the two of you.
I like it. Cove Watch, I mean, we already kind of covered it. Beat Finn Harps 2-0. I think it's a note from Wayne here. Gary Hunt pressure off for another week until Athlone away next week. So those are not the words of Dan Casey. Unless you wrote it in there, Decky, did you? Is that what you're going to say?
No, what I was going to say is I got a message from somebody in Cove during the week, Dan, basically checking on your mental health and whether you're doing okay and everything else, because they were like, what the f*** is wrong with him that he thinks Gary Hunt might be under pressure? Like, Gary Hunt is getting the year, Dan, minimum, probably 2 years, so, but it was noted in Cove that you did ask the question. Let's put it that way,
Yeah, sorry, I think you mean Queenstown is what I think. Do you have Postman Pat ready, Decky? Because it's time to head to the mailbag. There was also another question here about my mental health. Another one.
Okay.
Postman Pat, and in black and white cat.
The cat makes race.
Early in the morning.
We're back with the getting to know you with BCC. Sometimes I get myself into social awkward situations, obviously, such as accidentally insulting a Longford dynasty. What's the most awkward social situation you've ever accidentally or otherwise created that makes you cringe and want the ground to open up?
Oh Christ! I forgot one of these was coming. I shouldn't have decided to do this. I'll be honest. I was best man for a friend of mine. And it was before the Forest year, so I was very uncomfortable with speaking in public, and I got absolutely hammered and made a complete balls of the speech. And that I still had to spend the rest of the night at the wedding, and it was just horrible. There you go. Top that.
But yeah, there's nothing worse than being like not quite drunk enough to not remember, but you're still
you make
a tale of yourself, but you remember everything.
Yeah, I wasn't really drunk. I just had a couple of very quick pints just before standing up to give myself a bit of Dutch courage. One of the reasons I don't drink anymore.
Dickie, can you think of anything?
Oh, look, I mean, I've spent years just having no filter. I've often mentioned it here before that there's just no filter between what pops into my head and what comes out of my mouth. Like, so, yeah, like, I mean, John's talking about weddings. My own speech at my own wedding, I pointed out a mannerism that my mother-in-law had for years and years, and since the day of my wedding, she has never again done it. That was 16 years ago, and that makes me kind of feel bad because she obviously took to heart what I said, and she's a brilliant woman. Like, I know people make mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is a fucking phenomenal woman. Like, and yeah, so.
Richie says, do you reckon they have a number 9 lined up for when the window opens to compliment Doherty? Seems odd they've let that jersey free. John.
Yeah, I've had that thought myself, that jersey was left free at the start of the season. Was there someone that they had identified and they didn't get in yet? I'll be honest, I don't know that the only reason you probably need to be looking at bringing in a 9 in the window is with a view to what's coming next year and getting the team that you want to get promoted to get time together, played together, getting used to how they're doing. I can see us, though, having said that, if Tim Clancy was to go to Dermot Usher, coming up to the win and saying, oh, we need a number 9, we need a new player in, and Dermot Usher possibly quite rightly turning around and going, we're 10, 11, 12, 13 points clear, make do with what you have. But yeah, that number 9 jersey still being free on the squad list is an interesting one. All right, so I'm sure Tim will want to bring someone in because look, I think promotion is pretty much guaranteed at this stage, and if you can get someone now that will do that job for you next year, then get them in early.
Brian says, how many goal contributions would you rack up as a front three for City from now until the end of the season? And yes, you can decide what tactics are implemented. Brackets, Super Dan Ball. Decky, how many goals you're scoring?
Absolutely none. Without fail. Absolutely none. Come here, lad.
Surely this one bounces off you.
Off my fat arse, maybe, yeah. I mean, but I'd be after having a heart attack trying to run into the box in the first place. Like, so, look, I mean, I enjoy the spirit of the question, but we come on here and talk about the game simply because we're nowhere near good enough to have ever played it at the level the lads can play it at. So I wouldn't insult them by saying that I could step into that team and score 1 goal or 5 goals or anything else. I couldn't and I can't, and it would be a big fat 0 with the emphasis on big fat.
John, how many are you bagging?
This is the only way I would ever get close to being in that situation is if there's some kind of charity raffle to give a supporter 5 minutes at the end of a game. I remember every competitive goal I've ever scored in football because there was only 3 of them. I spent my entire life playing left back, even though I'm right-footed because no one else could kick with their left. I never played anything close to a high level, so no, I'm with Decky. I'm not scoring anything.
Lads, we're getting 1 to 2 between us. Surely.
We might get a Panenka, Dan, but that'll be about it.
If we put us on the penalties, surely at some stage one trickles in. Linux Pizza says, should the pod have a bake-off with the club instead of a golf match? Sean, are you a dab hand in the kitchen?
Actually, I'm terrible with breads, but I'm not bad with cakes and pastries and things like that. And we know Decky's got the breads covered, like, so yeah, that's actually, that's not an interesting shout, like.
I thought you were make a cream joke about Decky or something. Decky,
I'm not Wayne again.
Decky, do you think you would demolish the club in a bake-off situation?
Certainly, yeah. What kind of noises do bakers make? And we can line it up there for next week and play them for the next 6 months. Yeah, sure. Look, if we want to have, we'll engage in any kind of challenge within reason. Let's just give ourselves a note.
CL 2023 says tickets for Kerry. Any idea / speculation on the situation? Decky, do you know anything about this one?
No, I mean it's the 10th of May. So it's actually not that far away now. It's what is it? Less than 3 weeks. It's an interesting question. I hadn't actually thought of it. I just presume they're just going to go to season tickets holders. You know that the first sale will go to season ticket holders. The link will go out, and that'll be it. I mean, what are we entitled to them? I think that their capacity now is about 1,500, so that would give us 150. I don't see them going on public sale, to be honest with you. You know.
Very good. Brian comes in and says, "How was Dan doing mentally after yesterday's upset?" It was a tough one at the time. I won't lie, but after about half an hour, you calm down anyway and go, all right, there's bigger things out there than the game of hurling. But no, it certainly felt very real when I was inside in Walsh Park. Gareth, formerly known as Dogger Barry, says, "Is it time for City and the Council, plus the government and the FAI, to buy land around the Black Ash or Tremor Valley Park area and build a community stadium that all could use? Maybe 8k capacity that in the future you could develop to accommodate a bigger capacity." John.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those areas that keeps coming up again and again as a potential location. But I can go back to something Decky said on the pod last week, or it might have been the Patreon. Cork doesn't actually need another stadium. Do you know what we need to is look at what we have, and like Parky Rin we mentioned, or Flower Lodge we mentioned it earlier on. That's a 9,000 capacity stadium. It's redeveloping that kind of facility, or Musgrave Park, that people should be focused on, not building a 6th or 7th stadium within the county or the city bounds. Like, it makes no sense for me anyway.
Decky, you have an opinion on this one?
Yeah, he's like, that's Garth the dog, or like he's just looking for another big empty car park 6 nights a week with no lighting in it and the rest of it. Like that's all that's motivating him. No,
the park and ride.
Hey, good man, John. Good man, John. We've
please cut that out.
Oh, he's not. Oh,
no,
he is.
No.
We had a few on Instagram as well, in fairness to you lads. We'll try to keep these quick enough. Any chance of a spin to Ballyboffet? I guess, does he want that exclaimed, or does he want that directly to us? But I'm certainly not going anyway. Decky, are you able to help out Jim White?
No, absolutely. Unfortunately not. Like, I mean, you couldn't make me go to Finn Harps next Friday for a 6 o'clock kickoff. Well, you couldn't make me go for a 8:15 kickoff either. Like, so it's all the one. But like, for a first division game all the way to Finn Harps, I tell you this much: I admire people, and I know people will. And Jesus Christ, like, it is people who are beyond diehard. I don't know what the correct word is, but they deserve everybody's, not just
people like Larry,
yeah, they
insane.
just deserve everybody's appreciation and well wishes. And that reminds me of something that I meant to do for the last 3 weeks. But the volunteers around the club deserve a shout out as well. And I meant to say it the night after the Cove game, that the conditions that night for the volunteers were so poor and so bad. You know, the ladies selling tickets in the huts, especially, like with the rain banging in on top of them, like, you know, and nobody ever thinks of them, nobody ever mentions them or says thanks to them or anything else. Like, so it's taken me 3 weeks to do it, but yeah, shout out to all the volunteers, the match night volunteers to keep the show on the road, because without them, match nights don't happen.
Here. John, Keane and Lions meant so far 3 goals conceded, 8 clean sheets, 6 goals, and overall very solid. It's not really a question, but a good statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Charlie's been a fantastic addition.
We'll keep the show rolling here. Sean says, where do we call home next? Decky.
I still think the most likely spot is Turner's Cross, to be honest. Despite everything I said earlier on, I'd still be surprised if we ended up anywhere else. But look, I'll say it again. I do think there's an element of the MFA overplaying their hand here, and everything's on the table now.
Connor Carney says, Wood was wasteful that game. Jack injured. Murphy subbed. We still don't have a proper number 9. Concerned, John?
Honestly, no, because we're in the first division and we're coasting. But it is a situation that obviously has to be addressed. We would be a much better side with an out-and-out 9, with Jack playing in behind him. But at the moment, we're getting by and 7 points clear. It's kind of hard to make the argument that it's catastrophic not having one in.
Dar Will says, how close were City to signing Oweru in the off-season? Well, I have no idea. I mean, our man with the insider information is Decky, obviously.
He was one that we went for, and we thought we had, I think, for a little while, and then Sligo came in. But this is the problem. Once Sligo come in as a Premier Division club, it also got Wilson closer to home and closer to family and things like that. So once something like that happens, we're dead in the water. I mean, when it's us against Cove or us against other First Division teams, then we're always winning. The minute Sligo as a Premier Division club enter the equation, we're in trouble then, So yeah, we were certainly active with Wilson, but I mean, he didn't come here. No, this just pops into my head here. No, Sligo then went and signed Max Mata. Then they went and signed your man Schmidt 3 weeks ago. Are both of them ahead of Wilson now in their pecking order? He's not seen a huge amount of minutes. He's not seen a huge amount of game time. So I know John has spoken there about if you're bringing in a 9, it has to be with a view to next year. Would Wilson be somebody that we would be looking at maybe taking next year? Mm-hmm. Is there a possibility that we could get him out of Sligo even on loan in the summer because he'd be looking for minutes? So I'm guessing there's probably some form of possibilities there, depending on how he has taken to life in Sligo,
Sean says, just the one word answer here now to you both, okay? Is it a possibility that we will permanently move somewhere other than Turner's Cross? John, just one word.
No.
Decky.
One word? Yes, because there's a 1% chance. So then,
because we're going to be here now a 10-minute spiel.
No. I'm just
not a one-word answer. In fairness.
Go on. What do you reckon?
No, yes in one word, because there has to be a 1% chance, 2% chance, as minimal and all as it is. There has to be
Sean also follows it up. Surely some massive pissed up plans for the incoming 200th episode of Toe Tap, which is not next week.
I was looking at, but it's going to fall as a Las Damas episode. No, there's no getting away from it, which is fine. Look, Las Damas is very much a part of the Toe Tap catalogue. So, but there wouldn't be a big pissed up celebration on Las Damas anyway. That's for sure. So we might.
I'd say if you mention it to Wayne, he might make an exception about coming on Las Damas if there's a pissed up celebration.
We might do something maybe on Patreon in honor of the 200th episode of Toe Tap.
Mm-hmm.
Might do it that way.
Right, and that concludes our questions. John, do you want to take the where did you go?
No.
Fair enough. That concludes this episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Before we depart ways, John, any departing words of wisdom for our toe tappers out there?
Not so much parting words of wisdom, but look, just a quick note to say it was how good it was to see Dara Crowley coming off the bench at the weekend after a long time out. So, great to see him back.
Well, the whole pod forgot about that one. No, we just forgot about it.
It's amazing. Like, I'm going around all day in my head going, don't forget Dara Crowley, come on. Don't forget Dara Crowley, come on. Don't forget. You sit down to record the pod and it never dawns. And you're like, you know, and this is what happens every week. And you can make all the
no one's going to be
notes you want
listening
in
at
the
this
world.
point anyway, so.
Yeah. But John is right. It's brilliant to see Dara back. Absolutely fantastic. And I mean, you know, what's he been out 9 months, 10 months, whatever it is. And just neat. And it's the perfect game to bring him on. You know, you're 3-1 up at the time. You're never going to not win the game, and you can give him 20 minutes there and hopefully give him 20 minutes again in Finn Harps the next night, and then somewhere along the line you get to buck that up to half an hour and 45, and eventually you get him back and start the game. And I just thought it was interesting that it wasn't Harry Nevin he came on first, so I'm wondering, I wouldn't read too much into it, but I do wonder, does Tim view him maybe as a right back more so than anything else going forward? Don't know.
Is that your final thought of the episode?
It probably is, Dan.
All right, that is it. That is it. Be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon if you haven't. We did an episode last week for Ian on, so you're welcome. I mean, even if you are paying for it, but regardless of that, there's only one thing left to say, and that is adios.
Adios.
Adios.